My top 5 Green Day singles are number 1, American Idiot. Number 2, Basket Case. Number 3, Good Riddance.
I hope you had the time of your life.
Number 4, Hitching a Ride. And number 5, Minority.
There's no denying, even from the word go, Billy Joe Armstrong's got an ear for a hook and a catchy melody, and ultimately that's what the band survived off.
Green Day have been as much a singles band as an album band. They write really concise, neat, 3-minute pop songs.
The reason why they're so successful is because they're so damn serious about their business, and they feel that they have an obligation to their fans out there to do the best they can do and to be the best musicians they can be.
Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once?
Well, the first massive hit, that was a massive, huge crossover hit, was actually Basket Case. That was the one that everybody knows them from. They've been around before that, they've been on the scene. They've been like just one of many bands coming out of America, like another wave of kind of poppy punk bands that came after the Descendants and bands like that. But suddenly they had this huge MTV hit.
Might play tricks on me. It all keeps adding up.
They kind of just grew up disaffected youth, you know, who happened to be immensely talented. They found each other, formed a band, wrote some songs, and
I went to a train to analyze my trains. It's like a sex that's bringing me down.
Basket Case was the big single from Dookie. Probably throughout the 90s, it was their most famous song. Part of the reason of its popularity was the sort of lyrical tone pretty much summed up everything which Green Day sing about, which is sort of dissatisfaction with life, confusion, you know, doubt about the future. There's usually a girl involved there somewhere.
Basket Case was just about depersonalization. I've suffered from anxiety my entire life, you know, panic disorders. But I had no idea what it was. I thought I was just losing my mind. The only way I could know what the hell was going on was to write a song about it.
You know, do you have the time to listen to me whine, and I'm bored in my room, and kind of cheap nihilism, if you will. But there's something extremely knowing about it, as if he's kind of commenting with derision about himself, and it's all very, very, I think, clever.
The opening chords, instead of 3, just a 3-chord riff, is E flat, B flat, C minor, G minor, A flat major, E flat major, back to the dominant of B flat, and again. The way that the guitar plays that particular chord sequence sets it up really, really well for the huge burst of snare drum that comes in just at the end of the opening riff.
It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up. Am I just paranoid? Am I just stoned?
You couldn't help but just sort of think, well, what's going on here? And there's a really great intensity to how that song opens up. And when you get to know the song and it kicks into the guitars coming in, I mean, it's just, you know, it's a real rush.
They hit that kind of point just after Nirvana. They had like, it's not the same sound, but a similar kind of sound. but it's much more up, and I think rock was a bit depressed at this point, and Green Day seemed like deceptively kind of jolly, happy-go-lucky band. Even though Basket Case is a very psychotic song about having like nervous breakdowns and having panic attacks, and Billy Joe thinks he's a bit insane, but he's not actually that insane. He's not insane as Kurt was. But they kind of fit into that thing. It was post-Nirvana, rock needed cheering up, and along came Green Day.
They really were a renaissance for punk rock. Every 5 years or so, there's a new groundswell. They led the way and basically spawned a bunch of pop, what's now known as pop punk bands.
It was the coming together of various things, sort of the death of grunge, the rise of pop punk, a slight change in the sort of psyche of young music fans in America.
And anybody who argues that Green Day aren't a proper punk band, to me that's, playing Basket Case, it sounds as good or as great as any of the punk singles released in the late 70s. Of course it's a slightly different version, the same kind of thing, but it's a very exciting record. When at the time if you heard it played in a club, the kids would go crazy, the whole floor go absolutely crazy for it. And still now, years and years later, it's a classic. It's their teen spirit, really. It's their classic. Welcome to Paradise is the first sign that Green Day can actually write these really good crossover songs. It was on Kaplunk and they re-recorded it because it's such a good song. So when they went to the majors, they thought, we can't waste that song.
Welcome to Paradise, which was on Kaplunk, was also on Dookie, but I was more than happy to listen to it again because it was fantastic.
You can actually compare those two mixes, and what Rob Cavallo does to it is what it's all about in taking a band up to that level where you're going to hawk them around the world.
He makes them radio friendly, which is a pretty repulsive term because he wants to be friendly to the kind of cruds that run radio stations. But he puts a sheen on those tracks without taking the power out, which is quite a good trick.
I'm taking the sound and I'm blowing it up to major label quality, but I'm not going to bastardize or change the sonic quality of it because we have to have that integrity.
We wanted to really capture the energy of what we do live. We wanted a record to reflect who we were as a band. $500 recording that style and put it on a big budget with more time and more time to get bigger sounds.
Can you hear me laugh?
So Welcome to Paradise, the first hint that Green Day can actually get through to this audience. It's the first hint to people who run the media that this band is a serious band. This band can actually write really, really great songs. It's not just yet another, off the treadmill poppy punk band, because there was a lot of them around at the time. People kind of think Green Day invented that whole kind of sound, but there's a whole kind of mush of these bands around. When you first heard Welcome to Paradise, I thought, he's got something here. He can actually write songs that are special.
Welcome to Paradise. Oh, Paradise.
Essentially, they were in the right place at the right time. That was, I think they were kind of going for a larger audience, not like calculated, but they were definitely concentrating on writing great songs. I think if you ask Billy Joe himself, he'll say, I'm a songwriter. I'm not a punk rocker. I'm a songwriter.
Sit around and watch the tube, but nothing's on. I change the channels for an hour or two.
Longview was the first single, which was actually a little bit of a surprise, all things considered. I mean, it's not overly sort of poppy, really. It's got that kind of tribal drum beat feel, and it's fairly spacious throughout. It's not got the same immediacy as Basket Case, but nonetheless, that's a great single too.
Bite my lip and close my eyes.
it's got kind of great melody, but in a very subtle way, and the way that the band are playing together is very sort of interesting. The way they were playing together really kind of bizarrely almost reminded me of the way that Stevie Wonder's band play off each other, because they've got those kind of interacting harmonies and melodies and stuff, and that's very rare for a kind of, like you say, a sort of college American punk band to have that kind of depth.
Longview certainly made an impression because it's such an irresistible song, and it's kind of a slightly unusual song as well in terms of, you know, it being a punk rock song. It's got that fantastic rolling elastic bass line, and it's got, you know, it takes its time and it's in no hurry to end itself.
I sit around and watch the fun, but no one's calling.
Longview is kind of like just kind of singing about that kind of life, you know. It's the sitting around watching telly all day, doing nothing, you know, just putting the guitar in your lap, looking at the world through the TV, curtains half closed. It's that kind of life, playing guitars, listening to records, which is a fantastic education being in a band. And they're just kind of commenting, writing a song about that kind of situation. That's what Longview was. Even the song itself is written that kind of way. They got really stoned one night, Mike started messing around the bass, came up with that great bass line, and then he kind of the next morning listened to the tape, thought, oh, that sounds pretty good, let's make it into a song. And Billy Joe finished it off. Of course, they're typically like great kind of lyric on it and a tune on it as well.
They really went the extra mile to write good, memorable melodies.
Well, don't get lonely now. Enjoy your wedding eyes. Up is roaming for the moment, squeezing my back out to target. So tight you've been thinking about ditching.
When I Come Around was the last single off the album, and obviously it's not going to be like the biggest hit because everyone's got it on the album already. That's the curious thing record labels doing it. They pull single after single off an album, and it gets about the fourth or fifth one, and everyone's going, well, I've already got that, you're bombarding me with it, why should I buy this? It's got a slightly different cover on it or something. But here's one of the best songs on the album.
Oh, I heard it all before. So don't knock to my door. I'm a loser, a drug user, so I don't need more accuser to try and slap me down because I know you're around.
That's another song that shows that Green Day's strengths lie in producing sort of really, really perfect pop punk with a really sort of a feel-good factor to it. Again, this time they use 4 chords, and those are G flat, D flat, E flat, and C flat. And this one is more of a mid-tempo one, which shows that, you know, they can sort of expand beyond just really, really fast rock tunes. Obviously they could have chosen any chords they wanted to, but they chose chords which also happened to be exactly the same as, well, 2 songs spring to mind. First the Beatles' Let It Be, identical chord sequence, and also the Bob Marley song No Woman No Cry. It's identical, so it's not a sort of outrageous coincidence that they're identical, because it is quite a common pattern, but it's sort of individual enough to be able to be instantly recognisable.
I mean, the hits on Dookie would suggest that maybe they'd been sort of picked, particularly like, you know, go and do another one, and they would keep maybe writing the songs, and someone would say, right, now we've got the album we want. Whereas Insomniac is a much more on the spur kind of album.
It's like, it's not like a moan about life at the top. It's just like some of the songs about the pressures they're under. Some of the songs like Billy Joe's writing about. Again, he's going back to his panic disorder and his paranoia about it. And he doesn't feel like he fits in anywhere. You know, he feels like an outsider.
It's a very kind of introspective album, and it documents at the time, what Green Day were feeling and thinking.
Geek Stink Breath is about someone whose breath smells because they've taken so much speed.
I'm on a mission to make my decision later about the self just run shut. Slow progression, killing my complexion that is running out my dead. I'm on the road, I know self-control. I'm following a secret that's unfair to me. Well, don't know what I want.
The band have spoken about how they were doing speed at the time. You know, the old favourite punk rock drug, cheap and nasty speed, gives you lots of energy, but also has a real downside to it, a come down. So I think, these pressures, staying up all night, writing new songs for an album which you had to have done in a matter of months, that kind of informed the sort of the content.
I'm on the road, no self-control. Although when I say when that's unfair to me, well, don't know what I want. Well, that's all that I've got. And I'm picking steps off my bed.
Probably like a road song, really. You're working really hard, you're touring all the time, you've got to take drugs to keep up, and it's kind of referencing back to the culture he came from, but also referencing where he is now. He doesn't feel he's out of place, he's out of step with the punk scene, he's out of step with the mainstream scene, he's confused. I think elements, maybe directly the lyrics not in that song, because the song's mainly about sulfate, but there's the feeling of the paranoia is in there.
I'm on the road, and no self-control.
But musically it was still fast, it was still dumb in places, still smart in places, but crucially still had plenty of songs which could get played on the radio.
Something's actually a really very good song, but it's a bit like Basket Case Part 2. It sounds quite similar to it. It's not like it's a completely different kind of song. It's almost like they thought, well, that's how we had the hit last time. If we just alter a couple of chords, we get away with it again. Let's rip ourselves off this time. But it is a good song, but it's in the whole canyon of their singles. If you listen to a Green Day singles album, it isn't one of the great standout tracks. It's one of the standout tracks in Insomniac, but for me, Insomniac's probably their worst album.
But what is there, what does lurk within it, is a sense of disquiet and a sense of unease and a sense of uncertainty that I think comes from perhaps within the band themselves. They were trying to manage themselves at the time they made it. Billy Joe Armstrong was taking amphetamines and staying up all night and writing these kind of gnarled songs. Brain Stew certainly comes from that period about, strung out in his room.
I have been pulled to love by school. My mouth is dry, face is low. But up is fine out in my room.
Well, it's utterly bizarre that Good Riddance comes out first as a B-side to Brain Stew, but I think they probably thought, well, we can't dare release this. Well, they probably thought this is kind of a throwaway track. This is like, it's a great song, but it's not really a single, is it? We don't, people buy our records don't like that kind of thing, so just shove it on the B-sides. We'll come back to, no, they probably think we'll come back to a thing. Let's see if we can get away doing like something acoustic, let's put it on there. It's a good song, Billy's got his little song, we can put it on there. We'll put it out, the single comes out, Brain Stew doesn't do fantastically well, it's all forgotten about, dusted away, like leave it, and of course it doesn't actually work out like that, does it?
By 1997, they were probably seen as quite a one-dimensional band to people beyond the punk scene. They were seen as a band who wrote these simple, straightforward songs. They had the following, and kind of that was what they did. So I think with Nimrod, they tried to kind of diversify slightly musically.
They're kind of branching out a bit. It's got a few more instruments on there, a few more different styles of music. It's not so much straight, the straight pop punk thing, wham bam, funky bam kind of first chorus out, which they're very, very good at. But I thought, we're getting bored of this. We've done about 3 or 4 albums of this. Let's try something different.
Nimrod is the first chance they get to sort of take stock of things and actually decide what kind of record they want to make.
Oh, well, and I did break, so kill a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hitching a Ride is an absolutely fantastic song. It's one of my favourite Green Day songs. I mean, it's got that little Stray Cat singing, and it's like Stray Cat strut, the little riff in it and stuff, and it's an absolutely great single.
Hitching a Ride kind of makes me want to dance, and I can't dance, so that's really going to make me want to do it.
The riff in it is so catchy, and it's still like it's still a massive live favourite. They play it live, and it's one when you go to the gigs, and I saw them last year in Manchester. It's like the whole mosh pit. It's like thousands of kids always to the back going crazy for it, which is always kind of weird because when it came out, it wasn't that big a single. You know, it's about number 30 or something. It wasn't like a number one record. But the way it's greeted now, it's like all-time classic.
The big thing about Nimrod, or the significant thing, was the single Good Riddance, which they did, which was like, it showed a completely different side of Green Day, but it was one which fans were probably aware of anyway. It was really simple, sort of sparse acoustic song.
It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
It shows them in a different songwriting light of, I mean, obviously it's an acoustic song, it's much slower. There's a sort of almost Celtic sounding string section in there, and you get to hear Billy Joe's voice in a sort of different register and different timbre as well.
Like a punk band doing a sentimental ballad with acoustic guitars and strings, and but they did it very well. So, you know, and also it's a testament to how good their songwriting is, that it can cross over those sort of genres.
Unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
It freed them up completely, because I think when you're good at songwriters, that to get blocked into just being a pop punk band must be really frustrating. So already with the album, they're kind of stretching out the sound. So maybe in some ways it does fit in the context of the record, because the record, the current album at that time, has got those different styles on it. So let's put out the most off-the-wall single they got, which is basically Billy Joe on his own playing acoustic guitar. And it is a really great record. It cuts right through, and its biggest hit then, Hanson's Basket Case, got them back in the top 10.
It also kind of documents Billy Joe Armstrong's ability as a guitarist, because it's a different kind of game, playing sort of trashy, punky electric to playing acoustic guitar. So he crosses over very well, and he's not just playing trashy guitar on an acoustic, he's actually playing the acoustic guitar nicely and doing it very well. So I think that was a very sort of bold move, but very good one.
For the first time, I think people could see that there was a kind of classic singer-songwriter element there to the music. I mean, Billy Joe was into people like Bob Dylan and the Beatles in there, but also people like Paul Westerberg from The Replacements and Husker Du, both of whom were sort of seminal 80s punk bands, but they had a sort of this other side to them as well, which Billy Joe was obviously influenced by.
It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life.
I'm not really a great fan of you know, those kind of songs. They're never really Bob Dylan, and they're never really Lou Reed, and they're never really those things. They all do tend to sound a bit straight off the factory line.
Good Riddance was maybe the final straw for some people who thought, well, this is just a kind of dull acoustic song. But it introduced them to so many new people, and it was another turning point in that. In 1998, when it was released, the perception of the band sort of changed slightly. At that point, it looked like, you know, the career could be going slightly downhill if they carried on just doing these 3-minute punk pop songs. Good Riddance was huge. It was a huge single.
It's serious as well. I remember seeing them on Tongue Pops doing it, and it wasn't as bug-eyed, kind of tongue-in-cheek. They're not totally tongue-in-cheek, but there's always a sense of mischief about them. And there's no sense of mischief here. There's a serious melancholic side to Billy Joe Armstrong, which you get with the single, which I think is good as well, because even from the start you could tell he was like kind of melancholic person who liked fooling about. There's two sides, and this is just the one side on its own. I think and it's a great escape route for him. I think it must give them a lot of confidence, which, as you see, eventually you get to like American Idiots. It's like there's a whole kind of spread of styles, and I think it always comes back to where Good Riddance being a hit. It showed them they could get away with doing anything they liked.
There's a sense of broadness and confidence to the songwriting that I hadn't heard before in the band. Songs such as Redundant, which is, you know, really takes its cues from the most beautiful of 1960s pop songs.
Redundant's a good album track, but it's a weird single. It's a bit kind of throwaway. I guess it's like you need another single, so you just put it out. And the thing about the album is it's not really stuff full of singles. It's a good album as a composite whole because it's got so many different styles of music on it and sounds. You know, the sounds kind of stretching out a bit. But it's not like you pick through like you could with Dookie and go, wow, how come that wasn't a single? Dookie's just like every track could have been a single.